Welcome. I'd like to call this meeting to order, and Commissioner Stewart will lead us in the invocation and the pledge.
Sure. Please stand and join us. Heavenly Father, again, we thank you for this opportunity to come and serve the citizens of our great county, Lord. We just ask that you be with us here tonight. Lord, give us wisdom as we conduct the business of the county. We ask these things in your holy name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to the May 20 meeting of the Board of County Commissioners. We have numerous opportunities for citizens to speak before the board. In the beginning, we have the citizens to be heard. If you want to speak at that time, turn in a card to Patty, and you can speak on any issue as it comes forward. First thing we'll go is citizens to be heard.
Nope, we got approval of agenda.
Well,
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second. You're right. No changes? All in favor?
Aye.
Passes 5-0. Citizens to be heard. Mr. Norman Peake.
Good evening there. I happened to be at a fundraiser Saturday up at Walmart, and we had a lot of people come through, and we'd ask them if they were veterans and things like that. And we had one guy come through, and we didn't know anything about this, and he said he put an application in, or was going to put an application in with the county on a veteran service officer. Well, we'd heard a rumor that our service officer had either quit, resigned, or got fired. We didn't know which. And because nobody, he failed to notify us. So the guy said that the front office in the commission chambers over there told him that they were not going to fill that position. And we've just wondered if we're going to get us a veteran service officer, or every time we lose one, we're going to have to go through this same thing. It's about the fourth time we went through this, and it's starting to get a little bit irritating to find out just what the commission thinks of the veterans here in the county. They want us to be pawned off on Leon County, or Taylor County, or Liberty County, the VSOs, or have to go to the clinic up there to the Disabled American Veterans VSO. And I was just sort of a little curious as what you intentions are with the service officer, whether you are going to refill that position, or what you're going to do about it. And I'd really appreciate knowing, and because like I said, I've been in the county here about 40 years, and it's about the fourth time we went through this same deal here, and it's sort of getting aggravating, and I'm getting so old I can't stand up here and fight it too damn much more. I'd like to stay around long enough to aggravate all 5 of you for a long damn time.
We hope you do.
But I cannot. Well, I've been aggravating Mike for about 40 years, but the rest of you guys, well, him over there too. I aggravated him when he's working with
45 years.
Yeah, with the outfit over there. And but I would like to know, and I'd appreciate y'all letting us know what your intentions are. If we get together with you and work something out with the veterans, we can probably get some assistance. And we don't even know whether the Leon County guy's going to want us or not. You know, he is a county VSO, and he does not have to take the veterans from Wakulla County. We found that out last time because we went up and checked, and we checked with the find out just exactly how that worked if we didn't have a VSO. And we're getting more and more veterans. We had about 8 or 10 guys that told us that they were retired military with anywhere from 20 to 35 years.
Thank you, Mr. Peake. 3 minutes.
Moved into the county. So if y'all let us know, we'd be appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. David Clark.
David Clark, I'm the post commander at the
VFW down here. Norm pretty well covered it. One thing I would like to add, we've got a Memorial Day event coming up this weekend that has been handled by the VSO, and we found out day before yesterday that we don't have one anymore. And I mean, we're kind of wondering if everybody's just going to stand around at the courthouse yard over there next Monday, you know, and glad hand and all. It's going to be hot out there. But like I say, Norm covered a lot of the subjects. One thing that has come to my mind, there's an office full of unfinished, unsettled claims with the VA, unsettled appeals where claims got denied, all kind of veterans affairs sitting in that office over there. And it's all private citizens' business. So we need somebody in there to take care of all that. Because a lot of these veterans, you know, that may not even be members of our organization, and somebody's going to have to let them know about their claims or their appeals and all that. And it's my impression that nobody else but the VSO is authorized to even dabble in all them records. So there's that. He said something, but I couldn't hear it. I got mismatched hearing aids and an appointment tomorrow. So I'm hearing about half of what's said.
Oh, thank you.
Anyhow, that was the gist of it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just as a aside, what's the status on the VSO?
Currently, we are negotiating and close to finalizing a deal with the state to come in, the state veterans office to come in, and they'll handle our case here. They'll actually bring somebody down versus having an on-site VSO. Also, Leon County, yes, they have agreed, and they've actually worked some of our citizens, some of our veterans. So they're currently working that. Also, the status of the claims before, also to let you know, the previous VSO was not fired. He resigned. And all he said, all the claims he had cleared out and claimed. Now, whether they've been denied since then, we don't know. That's something we're going to talk with the state about and have them do it. But this is actually, we believe, from talking to the state, we can provide a better service than what we had before. By doing this. We're kind of cutting out a middleman. So we're going to try it and see how it works. If it doesn't work for you, we'll be glad to back up and turn around and do what we did. But this is something that's right. They'll be in Wakulla. They'll be in Wakulla.
You talking about having someone here so they don't have to go to Tallahassee?
That's right. They'll have someone here. We're going to start it out once a month, and we're going to see about the pace of it, and then we'll adjust from there. So. And then they've promised us they'll work with us to however we need it, they'll work with us. So,
You talking about just one day a month?
one day a month. Initially.
Y'all remember this, folks.
Yeah, I don't like that idea.
Coming up,
I don't.
and I'm on, the VFW says we cannot support a candidate.
Hang on, Mr.
It does not say we cannot run a campaign against candidates.
Mr. Peake, hang on just a minute, if you will.
I'm not happy with this once a month.
Well, I'm not happy. Hang on, Mr. Peake, I'm not happy with it either. I'm not happy with it either.
Okay.
And this is the first conversation that we've had about it. Three of us are veterans up here. Three of us on this board are veterans, and so we.
I doubt that. You don't act like veterans, let's put it that way.
Mr. Peake.
Ralph,
Ralph,
can y'all talk about this after?
Yeah, we're not going to win this.
This is citizens.
We'll work with you on this. Trust me.
I gave up a lot when I got out of the service.
This board has not made this decision. This is the first conversation we've even had about it. So we need to work out those details.
So that's what my intention was getting with y'all and working. And then the young man over there, I call him young because I'm probably old enough to be his daddy.
Thank you.
I may be free in case you want me.
You would have been.
Okay, I'm not. But, if we can work something out, but just once a month, we
Okay.
don't try this junk once before, it don't work.
Next week, we're all in agreement with you, but we
need to move the meeting.
We need to move on.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're gonna talk about it later on some other time with some level heads, 'cause I get irritated pretty easy.
Okay, next is awards and present, we have no awards and presentations. We'll move to consent.
Motion to approve consent?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That takes us to general business. Item number 12.
The first item on general business, Mr. Chairman, is a request for board approval or direction to initiate eminent domain proceedings for the county acquisition of a parcel to serve as a location of a future county administration building. This is the property immediately to our west.
Motion to not authorize the county attorney to initiate eminent domain proceedings.
Second.
And the reason why is, I didn't have a problem with it when it was a title issue, but when they came back with the appraisal, ain't no way. I wish my land was worth that much. It's not worth the cost.
With that, we would request your county administration building is going to have to move. As you all know, 319 is going to be paved over where your county administration building is. Staff has looked at various alternatives. That was the one that was identified. The reason eminent domain was necessary, as you all know, but the public may want to know, is because of the incredibly fractured ownership and unknown ownership.
There's like 30.
A bunch of unknown heirs that we can't identify. And so if we are not going to initiate that, we would like some direction on, would you like staff to continue to look in this area? Are there parcels that you have in mind that you would like staff to explore? We want some guidance.
Look
So we're
around.
not,
I mean, we don't have to be on the most expensive parcels in town. I know you talked about looking at the community center one time. If we can find a least expensive, it's still convenient for citizens, of course. We don't want to put it in Smith Creek, but if we can get away from the road and find a little cheaper property. And we got plenty of time, guys. This is no crisis. But
Well,
the reason we did want to find something is because DOT offered to go ahead and pay for it up front if we identified a piece.
We got a map over there, and we talked today in the staff meeting, and I think we're kind of all in agreement that there's plenty of property at the community center that we could certainly use to do that and kind of put everything in a one-stop shop. And we talked about the other constitutional officers that may be impacted and where we may put those guys as well. So it is a big undertaking, but we do have property, and we have more than enough property if we can't find anything else that's better than this that we already have in ownership. We don't have to pay for it. And a matter of clearing, and I think we have more than adequate room there to put everything we want to do there. So I agree that we shouldn't do this. I'd like that property. I really
would
think
too.
we ought to
I
get
would
that
too.
property for I've said that now for
Yeah.
probably 25, 30 years up here, that we should be buying that property, and we never have. This county is going to continue growing. We still remain to be in one of the third or fourth fastest growing counties in the state, and there's only going to be more need for government services, and we got to expand somewhere. So, if we left, if we abandoned this area and took the tax collector and put her over there as well, then we could use all this for a courthouse annex, is one of the thoughts I had. So
Yeah.
anyway, that's the kind of guidance. I guess that if you're asking for guidance, if we can agree to just,
I'm fine with that.
Yeah,
If we get,
it seems like with 23 acres over at the community center, there's lots of room to build a government complex over there.
if we get paid for the land they're going to take, what that appraised for, we'll be doing real good.
Yeah, and you're right. There's plenty of land at the community center. It's just whether we want to have is that the right place to have our county offices for our citizens necessarily? That's what, and I pose that to you. And is that, and I don't have the answer to that. I'm just saying, is it, and how do we position it so that it is, and or what other lands may be available here that would make it better and to keep it near the center. But that's the reason we want to bring this to you once and for all, either fish or cut bait on this piece so we can move on. So.
That's my motion.
Yeah, I think if it wasn't for the cost of the eminent domain, it would make a lot more sense.
Right. And I wish we didn't have to do that eminent domain, but that was the only way to clear the title from our standpoint. Absolutely. the only way.
Even without the eminent domain issue, still what it appraised for, it's just crazy.
Yeah. But it's still you don't like to do eminent domain, but that was the only way to clear the title.
My motion stands, Mr. Chairman.
All in favor?
Aye.
No citizens. Passes 5-0.
Doesn't pass.
Doesn't pass 5.
I did.
Your motion passes.
The
Your
motion
motion
passes.
passes. Yes, I'm sorry. Excuse me.
Motion 13. Item 13.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is another eminent domain action. We're requesting board approval or direction to initiate eminent domain proceedings for county acquisition of property on Lake Ellen. This is the very northern portion of the Lake Ellen right-of-way that ends up in the lake, part of the submerged bottom as well. This is an issue that has been batted around the county since way before my time and way before all your time, since the 60s. Eminent domain is an option that I'm bringing to you so that you have all your options on the table at the beginning before you have expended any more significant sums in litigation. Eminent domain is not quick, it's not inexpensive. I don't want to make it seem as if it is, but we're bringing this item to you because we have existing board direction to maintain that public access site to the water. Based on that direction, we needed you guys to know that this is one option. You have existing litigation right now in the form of a permit challenge dealing with the fence that is at the northern end of that right-of-way in the water. We've also been expecting, and I would expect to see litigation additionally over the county's use of the right-of-way and the county's use of an easement to access what is asserted to be a private water body. Given that, you are looking to expend significant sums on legal fees going forward.
I'm going to recuse myself on this issue, but if I were going to make a motion, it'd be the same one I just made.
Let me
I'm
finish.
going to leave it at that. I need the form, please.
If the county no longer wants to maintain this county boat ramp at this site, or if you'd like staff to explore other options, then we're requesting at this time direction on how to proceed with regard to an access site and how you want us to proceed with regard to the ongoing permit challenge. All of the other information that you need is in your agenda item. It goes through the eminent domain process, the findings and the showings that the county would have to make, which I believe we can make. But as I said, it's an expensive process and it's not a decision that should be made lightly. But it is one that, as your attorney, I needed to bring to you at this time so that you guys know what options you have available to you.
I will make a motion for option 3, do not authorize the county attorney to initiate eminent domain proceedings for the acquisition of the subject property, with an addition of let's continue on with the challenge to the permit that we have in place currently, or the DEP's intention to offer the permit. So continue that challenge.
I'll be recusing myself.
I'll second it for discussion, so we can figure out what we're going to do here.
I have a citizens to be heard. Mr. Adelson, the lawyer for the Mr. Fultz.
Thank you, Commissioners. I'm here on behalf of Mr. Stephen Fultz, who is the property owner subject to the easement. Brief review, the plat that established that easement in 1963 says that easement is for highway purposes. Your attorney, who I have had the pleasure of working with, very carefully and very accurately just briefed the commission on some things that truly need to be considered. I have been working and found some case law where I don't think eminent domain is in the best interest of the county because Florida Supreme Court cases say this is not one of those recognizable public purposes, according to the way the agenda item was written. I don't mean to be critical. I just want to let you know Mr. Fultz has instructed me that if we're not doing this lawfully, we're going to try not to do this. The second thing that I wanted to bring up this evening very quickly is going back to December of 2017. The County Commission has had materials presented. Prior to that, they had a very detailed letter presented. And that agenda item back in 2017, Ms. Encinosa, I think, was the drafter of that one, recommended that all of us would be well advised to take a hard look at the title issues in that easement and in the ownership of the property. On behalf of Mr. Fultz, the wet part of the easement now, where the water has come up, is not suitable for highway purposes. It's an easement law talks at great length here in Florida about the dominant parcel, which is the folks that have the easement, to go on someone else's property. They cannot unduly impose additional burdens on the servient parcel, which is the parcel that people are allowed to go on. The roadway out there right now, I'm not here to pick a fight about maintenance or anything else. I'm here to tell you forthrightly, it is still adequately serving the purpose of what the grantor of the easement said, for highway purposes. The adjacent parcel owners can get back and forth to their property. Fire trucks, ambulances, moving vans, plumber, electrical repair, guests, even the public, if they want to drive down the road and look at the lake, that's fine. But I want to suggest that all of us should consider that if you're a member of the public, or frankly anybody else other than Mr. Fultz and his family, if you're in that easement area that's shown on the map, you have a right to be there for highway purposes, and we can argue about that if we have to. But as soon as anybody steps across any one of those boundaries of the easement, you're trespassing on private property. And I don't know how to beseech you to please carefully consider that, because I don't want to be in any way untoward towards the Board of County Commissioners, but I don't think you guys intend to cause people to trespass unknowingly.
Thank you.
Say it.
That's it. Only one.
Make sure I understand, Ralph, you don't want to do the taking, but you want to continue with the DOA hearing.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
If we do the DOA hearing, it can be two outcomes. Can you explain what that is, what those two outcomes can be? Or at least...
Well, with a DOA hearing, you go to an ALJ. They can say,
Administrative legal judge, is that right?
yep, administrative law judge.
Law, close enough.
They can say that, yes, the county is correct and this permit should not be issued. They're going to make a recommendation. Or that DEP is correct and the permit can be issued. They'll make a recommendation. DEP makes a final decision. Parties can appeal. At issue in that is whether the fence that has been placed in the water that essentially fences off the end of that right-of-way and the side and just leaves a 10-foot gap, whether that should be allowed.
I would ask that, again, not voting on this, but if we lose that appeal, leave it at that. If it determines that he's allowed to have the fence, I don't want to just keep spending money on appeal after appeal.
How much more money, I know you can't give us a dollar figure, but time-wise, are we looking at a lot more time, attorney-wise, to have the DOA hearing?
The DOA hearing is scheduled for July.
So is there a lot more attorney time required to do that DOA?
There's discovery and then the hearing itself, and with administrative hearings you have mandatory legal filings, written legal filings that have to be done. So there is still a significant heavy lift to get to that hearing and get ready for that hearing.
$20,000 to $30,000 lift range?
Probably more than that.
Probably more than that.
Mhm.
Okay.
Well, we're already into this thing to close to $60,000, I think, in what we spent already, and then we're going to talk about another $20,000 or $30,000. Some point we got to say enough's enough, and I'm in agreement that we don't do the taking. I'm at the point where I say let's what we have now, let's leave it, and let's don't do anything else. I can't, as a commissioner, justify spending that kind of money, pouring it in a black hole after something we may or may not get and end up with a fence, taking a fence down. So right now we can get through there with a boat. It's a 10-foot, I mean, you can launch a boat there now. And, I mean, we're never going to be able to build a nice ramp there because we don't have enough, there's no parking even if we had it. So I'm fine with, if you want to stick with that, or what I'd really like for us to do is just, I guess I'm fine with it, but it's just more money we're going to spend.
And Mr. Chair, just one thing, I mean, to your point, that's really why we're bringing this to you now, because
I understand.
you're looking at, you know,
More money.
death by 1,000 cuts here, and so I wanted you to have a full picture of what you could be expecting.
Remember how many
Forward.
times we had a permit for a boat ramp? It got challenged, right? And, well, we didn't have a permit. We had a notice, was it a notice of intent to
A
issue?
waiver.
It
We
was
qualify
a-
for a waiver.
But that got challenged, right?
Mhm.
And,
No,
you know,
we basically withdrew the ramp as a means to try to
Understand.
accommodate, try to negotiate and say, okay, we'll keep it with a primitive ramp instead of a full ramp.
but I don't know how many times the notice of intent to issue a permit fails because of a appeal from a affected party. I just don't know how likely y'all are to succeed on that. And is it possible to look at other spots around the lake for a boat ramp too at some point?
Well, all we're going to gain from it is the fence will be taken down.
That's it.
And we have a little wider access from our landing. That's all we're going to gain. Is it worth $20,000 more to get the fence taken down? Do I like the fence there? No. And I think personally, I think it's going to be a liability for that person who has that fence there the first time somebody runs into it. He's going to have a big liability. That's just my opinion. That's his problem, not mine. My issue is that do we keep spending taxpayer money after something that's just not worth doing in the long run? Now, I want to just go back, if you just give me a minute here, Mr. Chairman, to make sure the public understands that boat ramp was put in by the state.
The old ramp.
The old ramp was put in by the state. FWC put it in the wrong spot. They saw that they had done that. They said, oh my God, let's abandon this, let's give it to the county and let it become their problem. That's how it got handed off to us, the way I understand it.
2000.
Yes. Well, we've been,
2010?
now the person who owns that land, Mr. Fultz, come in, rightfully so. That boat ramp was on his land, and he wanted it closed. I may have done the same thing. And so we can't blame him for that, but here we are with an easement into the lake that I'd like for us to maintain. I don't want to lose that easement, but I saw what happened, or I heard, I didn't see it, I heard what happened down at the upper river bridge this weekend. It was, you know, we built a nice facility down there. They went down there and trashed it out this weekend. Is that what's going to happen there too? Possibly. And we just don't have enough room to build an adequate facility like we'd like to build. And so I think we're where I'd like for it to stay like it is. I'm not too concerned about the fence. I think the fence is going to end up coming down eventually because somebody's going to get hurt in that fence. I can't justify spending that kind of money to chase after that fence. And I'm afraid that's what we're going to keep doing.
My concern is the cost and for just 2 boats. If we're gonna spend this kind of money, why don't we go someplace where we can put more than 2 boats?
And I'm fine, that was what I wanted to add when we're done with this part of it, is to ask staff to look for property that we could put an adequate ramp into that lake, make it a nice boat where we're not encroaching on the neighbors, and we can build something nice and have bathroom facilities there. And you know, can we afford it? I don't know. Let's look at it and see if we can, and see if it's even feasible. But so I guess I'm asking you, if you want to stick with the DOA, I'll vote with you to do that. If not, if you could withdraw that part of it.
Well, I mean, I think we're halfway down the road on that issue. And when DEP first came out with their intent to issue the permit, you know, my first read on that, I didn't think that there was much of a defendable position on that. I thought, man, that might be tough to overcome. But if you read the appeal that they sent in, It was actually very good, and they pointed out that you know, there's some potential violation of state statutes that's in there. And I think for the purpose of the public that has always had access and should continue to have access, that should be explored, and that should be put to rest. And that's, you know, I don't like the idea of the eminent domain. Sounds like that we're in agreement on that. But one of the main reasons why I don't like it is it bypasses that process. And then we're going to, if we take it, we might have the ability to take it if we prevail. But then there's always going to be the question of, well, the public shouldn't have had access anyway, so you guys just took it and bypassed that process. I think we need to let this run its course, and let's see what the outcome of that is, see if that fence stays or goes.
As long as everybody, tax-paying citizens, understand, and I'm not saying I disagree with you, we're fixing to drop at least 30 grand fighting that fence.
Right.
That's, I just, if y'all are fine with that, again, I'm not voting on it, but again, if you do that route, I would ask you, if you lose, don't appeal it.
I think it's
Keep
clearly a
fighting.
hazard to navigation. We wouldn't build a road that only has one lane. You don't build anything where only one vehicle can pass. You know, if it was 20 feet wide, there probably wouldn't be a concern there.
Actually,
I
I
think-
got to disagree with you on that one, Ralph. Just because of Caraway Cutoff, John Posey blocked it off
Right.
one time. The sheriff's department got called, and he was told by a judge, you got to leave a 10-foot passage through there. So he put a fence, and he left a 10-foot gap on Caraway Cutoff. So I don't know where the 10-foot came from, but I just happen to know that one for a fact. You know John Posey. So.
Right.
What do you say, Quincy?
I'm not voting for it the way that it is now.
Are you for the eminent domain then?
No.
Okay. Are you,
I'm for the fence. I'm for that to take care of itself. I'm for it to go away. I think that spending more money on it is another gamble. And so, but I mean, if you guys are two and I'm one,
well,
Sounds like that might flip here.
now that I understand your,
I mean, it's unfortunate that we're in this. However, you know,
Well-
that's where we are. And so,
Well, you can also, this is something you can think of, previous boards have punted on this as well. So wish y'all are trying to make some type of definitive action here, which is,
exactly.
None of us asked for this fight.
but nobody, we didn't ask for this, and this has been punted down the
Well,
line.
what precipitated this whole thing was Mr. Fultz bought the property. That's what got this started. If he wanted to welcome everybody to his property, which has his prerogative to do it or not, the boat ramp could be open today. We didn't close it. People keep thinking the county closed it. We didn't close that ramp.
And we never gave him a moment of opposition once it became clear to us that the boat was built in the wrong place on his property.
It's on that.
We never
survey
gave
right
him
there.
any friction whatsoever. We were in agreement on that.
No, it's right there in black and white.
Yeah.
I hate to spend more money, so
Where are you going, with me or him?
Yes.
You're going with me? All right, let's call it.
Are you withdrawing your second, or how are we doing this procedurally?
yes, withdrawing in my second. So I'll make a motion that we do what I said, was to abandon all the DOA hearing, pull out of the DOA hearing, and just have what we have there now. Ask staff to look at finding a new facility, a better location for a new facility around the lake.
And do away with the, what about the eminent domain?
Yes, doing away with the eminent
No, I'm
domain.
not done.
Okay.
Do you second that, Quincy?
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passes 2-1. 2-1.
Nay.
Hmm. All right. Item 14.
Okay, hold on 1 second. We need to space these things so I have a little bit of a room in between. This is the application for a change of zoning, R1905. This is a ex parte communications time in accordance with section 24.01 of the county code. Each commission member needs to disclose any contact you may have received from interested third parties regarding this rezoning application, 1905. Commissioner Merritt?
Spoke to the applicants. Is that interested third party?
Yes. Quincy?
No, I haven't spoken to anyone.
Staff and I attended the planning commission meeting.
No, none.
I spoke with Mr. Dennis Taylor.
If there is anybody here who is going to provide any information on this application, please stand up to be sworn.
Anybody that's filled out a card to speak on the item needs to be sworn in.
Raise your hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
This is a request for a change of zoning from agriculture to low-intensity commercial on 23.77 acres of land located on the east side of Crawfordville Highway, both north and south of Songbird Avenue. The future land use designation for this property is Urban Fringe, and the property is located within the Crawfordville Town Plan and is immediately adjacent to areas conceptually identified as low-intensity commercial, lying on both the north, south, and west sides of the subject property. Currently, the property is vacant and located in FEMA flood zone designation of X. The proposed change of zoning is consistent with the comprehensive plan, the land development code, and the Crawfordville Town Plan. Mail notices were provided to all property owners within a 1,000-foot radius of the subject property, and signage was also posted on the site. The advertisement for this hearing appeared in the Wakulla News on May 2nd of this year. Last Monday evening, the Planning Commission voted on this change of zoning application and unanimously recommended approval. It should be noted that during the construction of the Songbird subdivision, Songbird Avenue was developed and does currently function as a collector roadway. It's also identified as such in both the comprehensive plan and the PUD document for Songbird subdivision. This is also evident by the fact that there are no driveway connections on Songbird Avenue, and it does extend south through beyond Wakulla Aaron Road through the Hammock subdivision, and is envisioned to further connect to the south and tie in Shadeville Highway, furthering its classification as a collector roadway. Staff is recommending option 1 for approval, and we'll be happy to answer any questions that
Motion
you
to
have.
approve.
Second.
Okay, citizens to be heard, Mr. Billy Colbert.
Good evening. My name is Billy Colbert. I'm the agent for the rezoning on this. Just kind of wanted to point out that any required buffers and things like that will be installed and, further looked at during site plan design. And so I kind of just want to point that out, and I'm here to answer any questions. Thank you.
Let me reiterate what he said. We're here for a rezoning, so we can't do any buffers or, right, Heather?
That's correct. That would come up during site plan.
Yes. Okay, Mr. Robert Parrish.
Good afternoon. I've been on this particular piece of property. We started on this property about a year ago. There's been a lot of energy put into it, and a lot of hours spent talking to a lot of national people. And one of the things that's happened about a year and a half ago, myself and Gene have tried to, I pulled him out of retirement. We've been looking at prioritizing the needs that we feel that the community needs by priority. And I can tell you some good news tonight that we shared at planning, that I do have in my possession a signed contract that is in due diligence, heavy due diligence. There's still a lot of work to be done. I received that about 3 weeks ago, and it's with a firm that I'm very aware of, that has a lot of history in doing what we're talking about getting ready to do here. But the project that I'm working with them on involves the largest grocery store that's available today in the market that we live in. It's close to 50,000 feet. So our due diligence period, we're heavy into it. Through an honor system I have with the developer and through his relationship with the grocer, it's not too hard to guess who it is. My hope and wish is that within the next couple of weeks that we're going to be a little further along in the due diligence to where I'm going to let the leadership down here put together a news release and a media release that works best for this community and let y'all handle that. and that should be pretty close. Well, I will tell you, we've already had, the group's already had meetings with DOT. We've got agreements with a grocery that it's at different points of the process. DOT has, I don't want to speak for them at this point, but they are in favor of, at this point, of what we're planning on. And what we're planning on is that our group will install a traffic light prior to the CO on the grocery store. So that would be in place for the project. That's like number one. And then I'm in negotiations right now with several, one of the big projects I'm working on right now in Tallahassee, I'm doing about 130,000 feet of medical. We're in big need up there. Medical, we are, my home's in Garabelle, we are a big need for medical down here, worse than up there. And so I'm in negotiations right now with different medical groups for anywhere from urgent care, labs, small hospital. So all these things could very well come in the near future. Sorry, thank you. I'll answer any questions.
Thank you. Patty Taft.
Good evening. I'm Patty Taft. I'm fifth generation Wakulla County. Andersons, Langstons, Houstons, Taft.
We're probably kin then.
We probably are. So I have relatives on all sides fought in the Civil War, so I've been here forever. They've been here forever. But I say all that to say this, I'm not anti-growth or anti-development, but I am all about doing it in the right way. Now, Crawfordville, you drive into Crawfordville and everything is just hodgepodge, helter-skelter. It's just like everything's all over the place. So, you know, we need to get something, I don't know, something like make it more pretty, inviting. But also, I think this is paradise, and we're losing our feel for paradise. We've got too much traffic, too much pollution. You know, the ocean's closing, too much crime, too much noise, too many lights. But now last week I came and I spoke here at the Planning and Zoning meeting, and I feel like the project was not adequately noticed. I live at 29 Benton Road. Benton is half county maintained, half private. I live in the section that's county maintained. There was no rezoning sign placed at the entrance to Benton. The letter that I received in the mail came the same day as the survey. I came home from work and survey markers all in my driveway, all across the street, all across the road. In last week's meeting, it does seem like everything was a done deal with all the conversations that took place. If y'all go back and look at the minutes or view the video, you'll see that it's a done deal. I would like to see the FDOT meeting notes to see what actually is going to take place. We need to get the infrastructure in place. Traffic between Aaron Road, Wakulla Aaron Road, and Wakulla Springs Highway is a death trap. There are so many wrecks on that road. I travel it every day. If you're not paying attention, you're going to get rear-ended or you're going to rear-end somebody. It's too much traffic. So we need to get the roads addressed. I'd also like to say, let's don't cut down all the trees. Let's keep a nice-looking parking lot, a nice-looking business. Let's don't think about just money, just making a buck. Let's think about beautification. Benton Road, I know you said let's don't talk about buffers tonight. I did talk to Mr. Colbert by phone. I have talked to Mr. Mikey Falk in person. We've been assured that there will be adequate buffer to help with the noise and the lighting. And we also discussed the possibility of, letting some of us hook up the water. Also, the tower that is on Benton Road and Crawfordville Highway, I talked to Mr. Colbert. He's supposed to be finding out for me
Thank you, Ms. Pat.
if that tower can be relocated. Mr. Falk has indicated that it will be relocated.
Thank you.
The cell phone tower.
I was on the TRC when Songbird subdivision was developed, and we St. Joe, Ben Boynton developed it, but he bought the land from St. Joe, and St. Joe was going to have Songbird come out, not lined up with Bridlegate Avenue. And this would have been, what, late 90s time? But anyway, we made them line them up specifically with the intention that one day that will be an intersection right there. So I guess that day is fast approaching. And on the landscaping issue, that was a good point about the trees. I also served on the first landscape committee soon after Winn-Dixie came in. Mike, you remember that? They came in and just paved every inch of that place. And nobody liked that very much. So we formed a landscape ordinance, and now you can't just go in there and cut every tree down and pave the thing. I think Winn-Dixie's an eyesore. I mean, not that I'm a lover of whoever this other grocer is, which I don't know who it is, of course. But, you know, I really wish they'd redevelop that site.
Can I ask you a few questions? I just want to make a few comments.
You can come back up here.
Yeah. It's basically, you know, we kind of understand who's going to be coming in here, but, you know, I've seen their developments across the state, and I've seen some that are really attractive and some that are really not. Okay. And so I'm hoping that you bring forward a project that we can support, because I want to be able to support this. The Songbird Avenue right now provides some decompression space for these people moving it, going in there, and you have some really old trees on the parcel, and so making sure you take those into account, I would really appreciate it. That's all.
Was there a question?
Not really.
Well, Robert, I have a point. Mike, you'll remember this also. When Walmart came in, we kind of asked them to hold Walmart till I understand it, and they kind of told us to go pound rocks. But we're not at that point now. You know, the Publix in Southwood, I'm sure, is probably one of the nicest ones they have. If they have different designs like Walmart does. But anyway, Robert, you know where we're coming from. We want
no, I don't, because I don't know what you're talking about. You used a word that I'm not using yet.
Yeah.
The P word.
Well, I didn't say that's what's coming here. I'm just saying, all right, the Winn-Dixie in Tallahassee then has a lot of landscaping. But anyway, my point is, we want whatever it is, the nicest version.
I can tell you that the group doing this has done many of these, and not everybody at the table on their side, there's a lot of excitement. And this will be, they're not holding back. This is going to be their largest, and it'll be one of their nicest. And which caught me a little bit by surprise, not that I think anything less of where we are down here, but they're coming with all guns. I mean, they're coming with the Big Daddy. And that means landscaping, the way it's going to look. They want to be the signature, well, with us, what we're doing, because it won't be just them. Remember, it's 23, 24 acres. I've got other stuff that's going to come in to complement all that. So yes, there will be a lot of landscaping, and there'll be a lot of buffers, and it's going to be, I think it's going to be the signature. No offense to anybody else, because there hasn't been one of that size in a long time, of 24, 25, 23 acres. So it gives us an opportunity to really...
Yeah, it's 23 acres in the middle of town. It would be really great if you had the similar architectural standards throughout the process.
That's what we're doing.
Continuity, but
Yes.
continuity among all the buildings and structures that are going to go into this site, I think is what the chairman is looking for.
And one thing too for the community to remember, not to argue about anything, but there's a lot of traffic going back and forth because of lack of needs. So the more of the needs that we get here that we need, the less cars that are going to racing back and forth north of here, because we have to go see our big brother to get anything done, or go to some of these places. So we'll have it right here. So it should cut down on traffic.
I guess the point, Robert, basically is we're no longer standing here with our hat in our hands asking people to come in here. Now we're at the point now we've grown enough. We're not like we were when the Walmart came here, when they said, you're just going to take this and we're not going to build a Walmart. And no, we really want you here, but we're not at that point anymore. I think we're at the point now where we decide what we want here, not we accept what somebody else will build.
It's helped with my relationship with the owner of the grocery store that, that I've got a 35-year track record. So they know that they're not dealing with somebody's going to come in here, because I'm partnering with these guys in developing this, because they know that I've still got the rest of the land to develop. Mm-hmm. So they're just as concerned about what we're going to do as a community is that we're just not going to put them in there and then, let the rest of the property not be as special and as pretty.
And I'm hoping these out parcels, if you develop them, we'll see how this town plan works as far as these low setback parking in the rear and stuff like that, and this would be a good, interesting way to see, because I really like that, road frontage type look, if feasible.
Absolutely.
I hope this helps set the standard for what happens in the future.
Thank you. Any more comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passes 5-0. Next item is, have an agenda item to, a letter of support for, community of Panacea to receive a grant from the Equal Opportunity Competitive Florida Partnership.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion?
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passes 5-0. County Attorney,
Nothing additional this evening.
County Administrator.
Nothing additional. Unless y'all have something on me.
You sure? Is that it?
That's it.
Okay, any more citizens to be heard? Commissioner discussion items, always turn that way.
Only thing is, going back to the veterans issue, I definitely agree that one day a month is going to be a problem. I mean, I know you're working it out, and I know this was dropped in your lap. I remember when we had a half-time veteran service officer, and I remember how angry they were, and we eventually got to the point that we had a 40-hour-a-week veteran service officer, and, somewhere back there would be my preference.
How long has Harold been gone? Just out of curiosity.
April 1st.
April 1st, so he's been gone a month and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody's just noticing.
Yeah.
That should, I'm a Gulf War veteran. I'm a lifetime member of the VFW, where Norman's the member. But just keep that in mind, that
It's a month and a half.
April 1st till last weekend.
Well,
I don't say anything.
You saying we don't need one?
No, I'm not saying that. It sure did take a long time for somebody to notice he wasn't there. That's all I'm saying.
it kind of frustrates me that, and I've known Norm, love him to death. He's a good guy, and he means well. But I think he was just a little his emotions got over him tonight. I wish he were here so I could tell him to his face. But I don't think anybody up here doesn't. None of us not appreciate the veterans. 3 of us served. I did a career in the military, so I certainly support our veterans. I think I'm somewhere between you and maybe what Randy's suggesting.
I'm not even suggesting anything.
Well, I think we need to have somebody on staff who serves the needs of the veterans, and I don't know that needs to be a 40-hour a week. I think maybe 20 hours a week. But it's somebody that can be in the office maybe every day for 2 or 3 hours a day is probably adequate for Wakulla County. If it's not, then we can always step that up. But that's where I'm at. So if the state thing can work out where we can have somebody in the office more often than once a month, if not, I think maybe we need to look at having a paid veteran service officer that's part-time, not 40 hours a week. I think that's too much.
Can we try that? Because I think when I talked to somebody, they said if he needs to be there more than that, if he needs to be here once a week, or if he needs to be
I was going to say, let us, if y'all don't mind, let us try to work this out with the state, and we'll monitor it if it's not working, and we're getting complaints. We'll punt.
How many
say,
complaints
okay,
have you gotten so far since Harold's been gone?
Got
one.
one complaint. So I'm fine with that. Let's try it.
Yeah, to me, it's a good alternative versus what we've been doing, and there's been some issues there as well.
If
So
he's from the state, I'm sorry, he would probably have access to a lot more
well, and
resources
that's the
too.
point is that's where they think they can bring in, and they'll also close out the middleman. You're going straight to the. That's right.
VA.
So we really like to try this and run this rabbit a little bit and see if it works. We don't want to hurt any veteran whatsoever.
Sure.
And we're very cognizant of that, and that's the reason we've been talking with them, and as soon as we get the agreement ready to go, we'll present that to you guys, and we'll take off. But in the meantime, Leon County has picked up, and we haven't heard any complaints from that, have we, Jessica? And we know people have seen the Leon County folks, and a lot of folks were already going to Leon County, a lot of veterans. So,
Thank you. Mr. Stewart?
That was all I was going to say, and Ralph. So.
Mr. Mayor?
All right, I had a meeting with DEP today about the BMAP and about my comp plan idea. And the guy kind of fidgeted around, him-hawed around, and he finally said, well, we think that, you know, we're going to object to this because it is mentioned in the BMAP. I said, well, this meeting's over. I'm going to withdraw it. I said, you know, as I told you, if it's going to affect the BMAP, then I'm not going to bring it forward. So I'm dropping the change in the acreage size on the lots. If there's any chance it's going to jeopardize our funding with DEP, then I'd be a fool to try to pursue it just out of some moral principle I may have. Now, didn't that kind of end the meeting, Summer?
Yes.
Okay. So what I would like to proceed, and I'm going to ask us to vote on this tonight, and Chuck, you'll understand this. And of course everybody else will too, but Chuck's a PhD, so he's smarter than us. Our current comp plan right now says that we have a 10 milligram per liter standard for nitrogen. I'd like to keep the acreage size in the primary springs protection zone to less than 5 acres, but get rid of that 10 milligrams per liter and simply say we're going to follow the BMAP standard. Because right now our comp plan does not allow passive systems, right? So that's what I would like to change. And the standard should be percent nitrogen removal, not 10 milligrams per liter.
I agree.
Okay. So I'd like to make a motion that we nix my last idea and go with the idea I just presented. Is that clear in the minutes? That we forget about changing the lot
Did you
size.
get Dr. Chairman?
Ultimately, we're starting over.
Okay.
Trashing the existing
Trashing the draft.
Starting a new draft.
Starting over with the revision to the
Re-advertise.
comp plan.
Well,
Here.
Commissioner, that's fine. Can we give this thing a little bit of time to cure first before we take off on that?
I don't
Because
think there's a big
well,
rush.
I also might think about starting the process of focus on getting what the results of the feasibility study say. As that's when we're going to need to say,
Yeah.
okay, these areas we can't afford the sewer. Okay, we need to have all these people, all development in this area go to these higher performance system. What's the passive
Even if they're
system?
2 or 3 acres?
If it's in the PFA, we've got an amount of nitrogen we got to get off the system. And if we have standard septic tanks on the system,
I don't know if I'd
trouble.
stretch that far, but we're not in any rush. There's
No,
not a
we're not
line
in
of
any
people to
rush.
put in
We got
passive
a
systems.
year on the feasibility study.
Yeah.
That's fine. I'm sure Summer would like to. put
Yeah,
it
we'll
off
bring
anyway.
that back when we're all together and wrapped up in one package.
So Eugene, I know you're going to home and celebrate. Just don't get in trouble. That's all I got.
Okay, was that a motion to
Yeah, did anybody second my
not pursue
motion?
the change in the lot size, but to change the definition of the nitrogen reducing tanks to allow for other options?
At some point in the future, yes, that is my
Point
motion.
in the future.
Second.
Aye.
We need to vote, Chuck.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passes 5-0.
You and Eugene can party together. Motion to adjourn.
We are adjourned.
I think Quincy did, but Ralph seconded. Ralph seconded.
Be tonight.